Oigan, si la mamá de Carolina estuviera aquí, le hubiera dicho que se pusiera los zapatos porque se va a enfermar. Yo soy José.
Yo soy Carolina.
And this is Gossip con...
Shit. Gossip con las comadres.
Eso es. Last...
Wait.
¿Qué tengo?
Bigote.
Tajín or what?
Sí.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Last week we were talking about traditions, Mexican traditions, and how you were used to, or you wanted to salir de la casa bien. And I think we're going to touch back on that, on Mexican traditions. That
Okay.
Just Mexican traditions, how they've evolved, maybe they haven't evolved, and what we would like to see in the future as difference. See?
Yeah.
Take the floor.
One specific example that I can think of is like the difference between boys and girls in a Mexican household. Siempre dejan salir a los boys más que a las girls. I remember, like, I specifically always had to ask for permission more at a certain age, and whereas like my brother or in other households it's always like, yeah, está bien, consíguete 3 novias, and for me it's like, no, you can't have a boyfriend until you're 30.
Okay,
that's one example. Like the third, que me dejen salir y que tengan novia. That's 2 examples, actually.
And I think it hasn't evolved at all. And now that we're about to get into that phase, not so much literally right now, but to be parents in the near future, do you think it'll be different?
No, not at all. I actually think that I would be the same. I feel like for a boy, it's easier. I was talking to you about this earlier. Yeah. Like, you hear it more in the news. This girl went missing. This girl went missing. You never see, oh, this boy went missing. This boy went missing, unless they went to like skiing or snowboarding that they went missing up there. Where more serious than a girl, like they went missing.
Yeah.
That's an example. I mean, what can you relate? Do you think so?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see it. I see it. I grew up with it with my brothers. Obviously, que los dejaban salir y a mí no, and you're like, why? But why do you think the mentality is there, or why can it be the same?
What can you do to a boy? Like if a boy went missing, it's very rare. And I feel like a lot of the cases where it goes where a girl is missing, it's like las violan, or they want to take advantage of them in some sort of way. Did I touch?
Yeah. Which missing, I get, ¿verdad? It's very common to see a missing girl rather than a missing boy. But what about like household chores in a Mexican household? ¿Verdad? Que, lava los trastes, que ayúdame acá a limpiar, que ayúdame a lavar. And then the guys llegan de trabajar and la mamá ya le tiene la quesadilla lista.
Sí. La comida lista. Yeah. O llegan a la casa, even as a husband and wife, it's like llegan y con los pies para arriba. So I feel like now, even that, like, men are also evolving. I do think in that aspect they are evolving, whereas like they're being more helpful in the household, where antes is like, no, llego a la casa y the plate has to be served, and I'm gonna sit down on the couch until the food is ready with my feet up, and that's it. And now I do see there's more differences in the men that are in my life and in other people's life as well.
Overall. And I think what I see is that women are being a little bit more firmer with that. It's like, I carry the household too. Like, I go to work. It's not just you. We pay the bills. Do you think guys are seeing that right now, or not really?
I think they do pay attention. Also, touching on the aspect of like machismo, like that was very harsh in the past, where it's like, oh, let's talk about machismo. I mean, not let's talk about machismo, but it was the men were very machista in the past. It's like, I don't care, like, you work. And whereas now it's like, no, society is also building that culture where it's like, the woman works 40 hours, you work 40 hours, you both pay the bills, like, let's work on the house too. And in some cases, like, there is some girl jobs or boy jobs, at least in my relationship, where it's like, I'm gonna clean the bathrooms. Never mind, I take that back. I don't know. Where I'm gonna do the majority of the cooking, and my partner's gonna take care of like the garden outside or mowing the lawn or whatnot. There is in some ways some gender roles in the house, but there is more involvement also from the men in the household, whereas in the past I feel like it wasn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they definitely are more aware of like, okay, maybe they saw their I feel like guys in general are such mama's boys, and they see like their moms, verdad?
Yeah.
But even then, I feel like I personally struggled a lot with Josh. I'm like, come on, it doesn't mean like that you cannot not do anything. So even though I feel like there is a progress, I feel like we still have to tell them, hey, what's going on with this or what's going on with that.
No, I agree with you, where it's like you have to push that, but some growing up they see their moms, it's like doing the most of the job, and I feel like as a mama's boy they care more for their moms, like my mom is doing all the work, my mom is doing this and doing that. So I feel like as they grow up and become men in their life, they're like, oh, I don't want my spouse or partner to go through the same thing my mom did. So maybe that's probably why it's changing. We'll see how the next generation is.
Which is good, because I've never really understood like machista. Like, I just don't get it. I'm like, okay, you want to protect your woman, but then you also don't want to help her, which is good. I'm like, what I'm trying to say is that it's good that it's evolving. There's definitely a lot of tweaking and helping and guidance that could happen, but it is going towards an evolution. Growth.
There you go.
Which is good. Another thing about like just Mexican tradiciones, if you will. I don't know si te acuerdas, but cuando nos hacían escribir like a lot of the same, like una frase over and over again. Cuando te
like, I will
mal.
behave. I will behave. I will behave. I will not write on my classmate's hand or something like that, over and over. Yeah.
¿Eso sí te pasó con tus papás?
No.
Never?
I was a good student. I was a nerd.
What about at home? Like at home, nunca te portaste mal, or you...
Sí me portaba mal, pero like in regards to school, no. I think siempre quería salir, nunca regresaba a la casa a la hora que me decían mis papás.
Yeah.
So cuando me regañaban, me quitaban el teléfono or like like kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whereas boys is like, sí, sal hasta la hora que tú quieras.
That is true, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I was trying to say is that nunca te hacían escribir like una frase así. Well, I'll tell you a personal experience. Una vez, I don't know exactly what the phrase is.
Girl, what type of childhood did you have?
It should be traumatizing. I should remember the phrase, but no me acuerdo, right? And I wrote a whole page, and then my dad gave it to me. He's like, hazlo otra vez. And I'm like, what the hell? So it was like something with E and llegamos or something like that. And I did the E as an I, y llegamos as a Y.
So you did it again.
Yeah.
But you didn't know why?
I don't know. Well, yeah, I probably did something. I don't know what I did. But I don't think I was a bad kid. I just think they had like really...
Or so we say.
No, I was a good kid. No, I was a good kid.
Sometimes. No se crea. Se portó bien.
But yeah, I don't know what it was. But what I'm trying to say is just like los castigos que te ponían antes. Do you think that they're evolving in any type, way, or form? Because there's a lot of people que todavía les pegan con el cinto o con la chancla. Are you going to do it with your kids, Karen?
Probably. I do it to Luna.
You heard it here first.
I do it to Luna, and she's my dog. I don't know. I'm kidding. No le pego con la chancla. No, well, honestly, I've talked to Fernando about this, and I'm like, I'd rather not do that. Let's teach them the right way and be like, hey, no se brincan los sillones. No se brincan los sillones. Decirles 1, 2, 3 veces. Ya después, si no aprenden, I'm like, hey, ¿qué te dije? Like, sit down and talk to them. But I also know from your experience, you're more patient. I'm very impatient because I don't have a child of my own. So I hope that when I do get to that point, my patience, I hope so. Mi paciencia va a bajar. I'm going to have more patience.
Okay.
But we'll see. ¿Quién sabe?
Which I think we are more aware of, like, antes no se hablaba de, like, oh, how am I going to make my child feel, you know, si le pego or si le hablo de una cierta manera, like, oh, that thing that you did was stupid, instead of being like, hey, how can we do this differently? I think that is evolving, and I really think that that's a really, really good thing.
Yeah, I do think so. But like going back to like us getting in trouble and getting yelled at, could it be different because you're one of the oldest childs and I'm the youngest? Do you think? Because I don't feel like I always got in trouble.
Yeah, I see it with my mom. I really do, and I feel like if I'm about to have another child, I'm like, there's so many things that I did with my first one that I've learned that I'm not going to do with my second one.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think que muchas de las veces quieres enforzar las reglas o just what you want your child to be like, especially the oldest ones, y luego poco a poquito you're like, that wasn't important and stuff like that. So yes, I think they cut a lot of slack as you have more kids.
Yeah. And just for background for everyone that is watching, Aziade is the second oldest out of 4, and I'm the youngest out of 3. So it could be reasoning why, because when you're saying no te ponían a escribir, I'm like, no girl, I didn't get that traumatized.
Iba a jugar mientras tú estabas escribiendo. Me llevaron a la tienda a agarrar un chocolate.
A mí me compraban hachiros. Y me decían, pórtate bien, no te creas. No, I think my mom was the one that would always try to like regañarme. And since I was such a daddy's girl, my mom was like, no le pegues, no le pegues.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I'm trying to like refer it to like you as one of the oldest childs. Could be different, which is definitely great that we have this experience. It's yours is completely different than mine. And sometimes like,
but it like makes you aware, right?
Yes.
And for future generations, you're like, okay, even though we're like the same age, you and I both had different experiences, and then you can take that information and apply it to your future kids
however you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I guess, yeah. ¿Quién sabe? I don't have children of my own, so no puedo decir.
And it's really hard to say how you're gonna be, porque muchas de las veces I'm like, oh, mi niña nunca va a ver la tele, no, nunca la... And then, girl, llega
viene con su
like,
nina y
that. Like, things that you can control and just things in general, you're like, okay, estoy cansada, ya, por favor, ve la tele, you know?
O hasta en la escuela, a veces les enseñan movies or cosas to entertain them for like a fun Friday or fun days. Because I remember that was a thing.
I wouldn't know.
Oh, perdón. No, but I'm saying it like in school.
Right.
Girl, how traumatized are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty traumatized.
It's okay. I'll be unpaid there.
Okay, fine. Agárrate. But yeah, I think there's like a lot of Mexican traditions that are evolving, y muchas todavía están atoradas. And a big one is money. Like finances. I feel like it's just not talked about in a household. So when you are like an adult, vamos a decir, or start working a job, that money is like, oh my gosh, puedo ganar esto haciendo un trabajo. Y muchas de las veces lo veo con los hombres mexicanos, que they're like, oh, I don't need to go to college because like money is not talked about.
Yeah, I agree. Que siempre no te necesito ir a la escuela para hacer buen dinero. Puedo agarrar un trabajo que me pague bien o igual que alguien que estudió, que fue a la universidad. I've noticed that. Sí, lo he notado in multiple ways, which can be true.
Yeah.
It can be true. Like, you don't need to go to college to make money. But it's that education piece. Like, you don't want to be also clueless or be like, not know the obvious stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, which we're touching on two things right now, ¿verdad? Both education, that it's not as enforced in many households, but in many households, see, I feel like there's a lot of households that are driven, that focus in like their immediate family. Y hay muchas familias that focus in their like sus mamás, sus papás, and stuff like that. And maybe they're so hyper focused because growing up they had that responsibility, like, oh, I have to be better for my parents. So I think that as Latinos, we have to be better at talking about finances, and then enforcing that education part.
Yes, which we touched a little bit on this last podcast about for enforcing them with going to school or not. I think I wanted them to go to school once because I went to school, but also give them the liberty of like, what do you want to do?
Yeah. So there's a thin line, and I think that, I don't know, like, I think it's just hard for parents to be like, mira, mijo, échale ganas or estudia. They just don't know. They don't have the capabilities or the resources to be like, mijo, vente, vamos a, like FAFSA. I'm sure that you applied for FAFSA, your scholarships sola, like no one helped you. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's okay to ask help, and I feel like muchas de las veces Latinos are like, no,
you can't ask for help. Mm-hmm. It's very hard. And I noticed this in my work environment also. It's harder for men to ask for help than it is for women, and it's just became more of a natural en cualquier cultura, pero especialmente in a Mexican culture.
Yeah, and one thing ties to another, ¿verdad? Maybe the mom does want to enforce that, but the dad is like, no, vamos a esperar a esto y esto otro. Mm-hmm. So, el machismo, which is what we touched about. And then with that, vamos a decir que person A went to work. Person A starts working, ¿verdad? In high school, 16-year-olds, and he starts making this money. It's like, I don't really need school. I don't think parents still to this day talked about finances. Mm-hmm. At least that's my experience. I don't know how it was for you.
Yeah, I don't think my parents ever talked about like, hey, make sure like you need to save money directly, but it was also always engraved in a way. Nunca me dijeron tienes que salvar dinero, pero sí me dijeron. So we never talked about money, but we did. Okay. Like it was like a hot topic that we didn't touch on always. It could be different for my siblings, but I don't think for my parents it was like, you know, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. And what I'm trying to say is que like we need to be better as in like be transparent, because in veces we see our parents and we're like, oh, they're doing fine, we're fine. But in reality, they're maybe like living paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. For me, it was more of like, oh, deja que me paguen. It was always that, deja que me paguen, déjame que me paguen. So for me, I'm like, oh, if I make like good money or if I'm able to help my parents, that's good enough, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not. I feel like they need to be like more a little open. Bit more more open, like, oh, me tocó pagar este bill, or this is coming up, and kind of set yourself up, not obviously as kids, as like I would say like 13 and under, but ya cuando estés más consciente de like, oh, I want este par de pantalones, and your parents are like, well, we need to do this and this.
These other
so
payments.
Estás consciente, y también it's like, it's not good money. Like you could be doing better with an education, potentially.
Yeah. No, and that's true, because I feel like that was always the case growing up. It's like, well, this is why you need to go to school. This is why you need to go to school, because so that you can make more money and you can buy whatever you want. Mm. Also, as in a Mexican culture, it's more known for the kids to take care of their parents after once they're older, whereas in any other culture, a lot of the other cultures, it's more like send them to an elderly home. ¿Cómo se dice?
En un asilo.
Ajá, en un asilo. Elderly home, or like, yeah. So it's more like, okay, now I need to make more money para poder mantener a mi familia and also poder ayudarle a mis papás, or once they get older y necesitamos ayudarles.
Which I think is a good thing, like to be ambitious. And I think when you do have that mentality, you overlook your immediate family, mm-hmm. which is what you grew up seeing. So you're like, I have to do this, tengo que hacer esto. So it's just a norm. And I think that we, again, have to be better at focusing on
our immediate family, nuclear family, como quien dice. Sí. Yeah, and it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard, because I know that either my partner or I, en que mis papás lleguen o los papás de él lleguen a necesitar la ayuda, no, I don't want to be like, no, we can't help them because we need the help right now.
Yeah.
I want to always be like, yeah, like let's have that help them and know that they can rely on them, because at the end of the day, one, I love my parents, but two, Fernando is also is the oldest, so I feel like it'll always land more on him than it will on the others.
Okay,
on the other young children, mm-hmm. which I don't know how it'll land on me too, because I mean I don't know, but yeah, it always ends up that we end up helping them more, and it shouldn't be that, but it like in that Mexican tradition that we were touching on, it's the case.
I think it's just the normality, right? They expect it, like, oh, they're gonna be there, and I think that's okay to have. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say, would you be okay with your kids thinking, uh, or yeah, your kids having that carriage, not carriage, or having that thought of le tengo que ayudar a mi mamá when she's older?
That's not the goal, but then it's also the goal to like set up your children to for success and for them to be better, going back to the college and the school aspect.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know, maybe because I'm thinking differently. So it's like, vas a la escuela, te va a ir mejor. Vas a la escuela, te va a ir mejor. You're gonna go to school to so that you can get better and that you don't have to end up working at any place that it pays less.
And it's really, really interesting that we're talking about this because you were used to that, right? And for me, like my dad was always so hyper focused on helping the
Everyone else.
but us.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I think I have that mentality that I'm like, yes, I'm happy to help you as long as I'm okay. I can't be okay. I'm not okay. I can't be okay.
You can't be not okay and help other people.
Exactly.
When
Yeah.
You're okay.
And I think that's the biggest thing that I took. It was just like
okay.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean, I understand. It makes complete sense. It does make complete sense, and you should focus on it. And I've seen it all over society, and I'm sure that we've all seen it on like social media and stuff. It's like you should focus on your nuclear family first. Make sure you're nurturing and naturing and providing for your own nuclear family. And if you can do that and provide for your outside family,
exactly,
perfect.
Do it. Yes.
Go ahead and do it.
But part of no, like if you're struggling,
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Part of me, I don't know.
It's hard. Es que my dad he was like always had a good paying job. Worked very hardworking man. He would work a lot and he would make good money. Like always had 2 jobs, but never had money for us. Like I don't have a memory of him like taking us out to dinner once.
Okay. So yeah, like I get, yeah, you can see that, and that's probably why your mentality now, it's like, I'm not going to help anybody else until I know that I'm okay. Which you as a person already are very, very helpful. And
I'm a very giving person.
Yes, yes, you are a very giving person, and you take into consideration everyone's thoughts, whoever is around your life, always, which is a good trait to have, especially knowing the background that you come from also. But like, at least for me, it's more like a fuerzas quiero tener para poder proveer para mis parents, which I'm sure my parents appreciate it.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that just to like they have that expectation. Like sí o sí me va a ayudar when I'm older. Cuando
yeah, they should have that expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah. They shouldn't have that expectation.
And do you think they have that because they were like in survival mode cuando ellos sí se tenían que venir a los Estados Unidos, make that money, send it back to them?
I don't know. La verdad no sé. Maybe I think they have the expectations just because it's culture. It's like you should always provide for them, or they provided for us for so long and so many years. It's like se va a llegar el día que tú vas a tener que proveer de nosotros. And I don't necessarily think that I've ever heard it from them directly, but I feel like I did hear it. Like, nosotros te mantuvimos por 18 años, whatever age, tú nos tienes que ayudar atrás cuando lo llegamos a necesitar.
And I always say, like, pay it forward. And I, like, 100% believe that, pay it forward. But I'm a very emotionally attached person. I'm like, if you didn't like do anything for me, I don't feel, and I know it maybe shouldn't be like that, but I'm like, I don't feel that responsibility, or I don't carry that, that I'm gonna help you. And helping doesn't necessarily mean like financially. It could be like as simple as like translating
or transporting you to like driving you somewhere. No, I agree. And I take this not even just within my parents, but I take this into consideration for like my aunts and uncles and whoever. It's like, yes, I'm happy to help, but make sure it fits within my schedule, within my finances and stuff, because you should be focusing on it. And I feel like sometimes it may come off as very self-centered, but I feel like we were always raised as like, you need to help everyone and you need to give back, como dices tú, give back. So now that it's my time to focus on myself, it feels guilty trying to give back to others when it doesn't fit with your schedule or going out of your way to do some, unless, como dices, like they did it for you. And it
feels selfish.
It does feel selfish in a way, but it's okay. Like
needs to be, it's okay.
It's okay. It needs to become the new normal. It does. It needs to become the new normal, and being okay with saying no, because I think that's a hard topic also, and especially in a Mexican culture where you can't, it's very, very hard for you to say no, y si dices que no, quedas mal. Y si dices que sí y no lo haces bien, quedas mal.
It's a very judgmental culture.
Yes, it is. Y te echan mucha carrilla and they judge you and they, de todo. O sea, it literally is de todo. Which I feel like it also makes us a stronger person in a way, but sad and traumatized person.
It's sad porque quieres contar en tu familia, but sometimes it's like your own family that is like, no te quieren ver mal, but either like, why do you want to do this a certain way? Or like if you wanted to do something differently, like vamos a decir, un cumpleaños lo quiero celebrar, I just want to be home and blow my cake, the candles to my cake, y ya. Like no quiero ir a un restaurante or quiero ir a una fiesta. It's no, like, why? Eres la rarita.
Eres la oveja negra.
But I think they just have a harder time
like accepting the differences, the different person,
or doing something different. I think they're just raised in like, oh, esto se hace, this is what I'm used to, and so when you present something new, as simple as like, quiero ir aquí, quiero celebrar mi cumpleaños aquí, or quiero hacer un viaje en vez de celebrar hacer una fiesta con todos. They're like, why?
Or even like recently, I feel like in Mexican weddings se está usando mucho de lo que no quiero niños en la boda, and it's like, what? Se confunden. It's like, why? Like they're part of the family, and it's like, I don't want kids in my wedding. Like I just don't. And so it's like, okay. It's hard for somebody to have a wedding and set boundaries that are not the normal in a Mexican culture, like not having kids in your wedding, and it's becoming more normal, or no, it's está pasando más seguido, more often than not.
And if you talk to your grandma, te va a decir, ay no, ya nada es igual, hija. But I think like parents are just like kind of there, you know, they're like monotone, they're like in that, well, in my opinion, they're like seeing that evolution of like, I came from el rancho que hacíamos todo una cierta manera, and then ya los vi a ustedes crecer, like my brothers, my siblings.
Do you think it's because you were the oldest?
I think that was part of it, and it was very, I don't know what it was actually, porque siempre le pregunto a mi mom, was I quiet or was I always quiet? I was always really quiet growing up. Okay. Always. Like, found no trouble. Mi mom is like, eres bien seria, bien buena niña. I'm like, se me hizo.
Se me hizo. It's your fault.
Or like a thing that I always say, ¿verdad? Que me dicen, oh, she's shy. And then I got older and I started making videos like YouTube, TikTok. I'm like, I actually enjoy this and I'm not shy about it. Like, I enjoy it.
Por eso te pregunto que if you were the rebellious child, because I know a different side to you.
Yeah, you do. No, I wasn't.
No? Okay. I wasn't rebellious. No me portaba.
Eso dices.
I wasn't bueno, eso digo, ¿verdad? Pienso que no me portaba mal. Siempre traté a todos mis mayores con respeto, que es part of another Mexican tradition. Like, tratar a tus elders, cualquier edad, like as long as they were older, siempre con respeto. I feel like that I always did that. Siempre, whereas my parents always engraved, respeta hasta que ellos no te respeten. And I'm like, okay, period, say no more.
Yeah.
Pero siempre traté treated everyone with respect. My grades siempre estuvieron bien. I always went to school, I worked and I did good, pero no quise hacer las cosas tradicionalmente. Or like, más bien, no soy rebelde, pero soy loca.
Sí, ya, eres bien loca.
Sí, soy loca. Y siempre le he dicho a mi mom, I'm like, ¿qué haría con su vida si yo no existiera? Porque I think I'm funny.
Hola.
Not necessarily like I make jokes or something, but I'm like,
Eres bien alegre.
Yeah,
that's
there
what
you
it
go.
is. Eres bien alegre.
Whereas I feel like my brother and my sister were a little bit more calm with our family. Quién sabe with their friends. I know that like my
always
brother,
different with friends, yeah.
Sí, cierto. My brother is a little bit more wild with his friends, pero when it comes to being around my family, son más reservados, and where I'm like,
this is me, yeah.
Ass out, tits out. Oh yes, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, I was more conservative in my dressing apparel also, but so no era rebelde, era más
alegre.
aventada, ajá, yeah. Alegre. So yeah, I don't know. Let's ask my parents.
Your mom right now. Ay,
esa está loca, no le crea nada. Es me sacó las canas. Tengo canas verdes por culpa de Carolina. No, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, now that we're talking about it out loud, I think it is hard to see that change, but it's not impossible porque igual tú, as parents, I'm like, we're saying right now, with the first one, you're so strict, and with the, like, more and more, you're like, see, yeah, whatever, it wasn't even that complicated, you know? But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Mexican traditions que todavía están igual y muchas que están
evolucionando. There is a lot of, one Mexican tradition that I can think of is the boyfriend having. I know my sister can talk about this. Like they were more stricter on her and having a boyfriend than it was. I'm sure that, I mean, they were so strict on me, but they were stricter on her of like cuándo puede salir y cuándo no puede salir. And for me, this is where my rebellious or más atrevida and alegre vibes come in, where I'm like, I don't care, me voy. Like I have a boyfriend. I'm kidding, I take that back a little bit. Just a little bit back. Pero sí hacía más cosas que mi mom would be like, eso no se hace, ¿verdad? And I'm like, okay, well, se está haciendo ahora.
Yeah,
ahora la nueva generación voy a ir de viaje con mi novio.
Yeah.
Oops. Oops.
And now as a parent, I feel like we're still stuck at that.
Yeah.
We're still stuck at that. And now as a parent, do you see that? Why they were like that?
Yes, I do see it. Well, and I'm not a parent, but I see it with my niece. I'm like, no quiero que tenga novio hasta que tenga 30 años.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. Y whereas my nephew, I'm like, ten 5 novias. A ver, ¿cuál ahora es tu favorita?
Ándale.
But then I'm like, oh shoot, like, it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way, ¿verdad? But it's true. I mean, I don't have they're not my kids. Son de mi hermana, so I can take them back. I can give them back. Pero we'll see when I have my own kids.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to like think about. Or Ariana me pregunta, oh, what is a boyfriend? Or can I go on a date? I'm like, well, yeah, you can go on a date if you want, but you know, typically the boy picks you up. Do you think a 6-year-old can drive? And she's like, no. Or it's like I try to be more open in the conversation. Like, those things happen, yes, but let's think about other stuff. Like, si tú estás bien, or you puedes tender la cama, puedes hacer esto, like you can read this book from start to finish without stuttering. She's like, no, ¿verdad? I'm like, no.
Es como la canción esa de ¿cómo se llama? Chente, Chapo.
I don't know what you're listening to, girlfriend.
No, it's an old song. La canción esa que dice, Dad, did somebody call?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, no, sí, es que era un wrong number.
Don Chente.
Ajá, there you go, Don Chente, sí. Yeah, like that one.
Yeah.
¿Cómo que tienes novio si ni las tortillas puedes voltear or something like that? Yeah. It's true. And I heard that always. Nunca me decían. Mm-hmm. Maybe they did. I don't know. My childhood was all over the place. But yeah. So maybe it could be to that like extent.
Yeah, and I'm trying to be more open about like questions that she's asking, and I feel like muchas de las veces eso es lo que pasaba, que there's like, oh, why can't I have a boyfriend? Oh, no, ahorita no se puede, you're too young, or stuff like that. Que así, they would just shut down the question. And I'm trying, which I don't even know if it's going to be good or bad in the future, what repercussions it's going to have. But
we'll see with your other child.
Exactly.
Next child.
Yeah, I'm going to be like, oh, I maybe shouldn't have said that, you know? And right now, te digo todas las veces, I'm like, dang, I did things with Ariana that I'm not going to do with my second child. So it's just a lot of growth that you're...
But do you think that is the way that we're thinking because we were raised here for the majority of our lives and we grew up here in America, whereas if we were to be raised in Mexico, with our partners in Mexico and raise our children in Mexico, do you think it would be different?
Yes and no. Okay. It does depend, porque siempre what I always go back to is that my brothers and I were in the same household, same experience, same everything. Y todos somos absolutamente diferentes. Mm-hmm. And I don't think my parents would have had a different ending that they did now living in Mexico. I think it would have been much worse.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes and no. So, no, I don't think it makes a difference.
The goal is to evolve and better for the next generations and for our children and next generation's children, and hopefully the machismo is not there, the gender roles are not there. It comes to like having a boyfriend, to cleaning, to the chores around the house. That is the goal for everyone. I'm hoping to see that within the next few generations. It might not be with my generation, pero para la otra está bien.
Which is okay. I think that I think we have more knowledge. And what I want to touch on a little bit is like mental health, right? Okay, a lot of times it's like the traumas that when you leave your house, when you're like more aware, 18 years old, you're like, okay, adult things, what am I doing now? You take that trauma and you dump it, or you take that trauma and you try to fix it.
Yeah. No, it's true. And mental health is something that you don't ever talk about.
Yeah, you don't
talk about
to this day. No, you're not busy enough. Do something. Haz algo.
Ponte a barrer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Estoy aburrida. Oh, okay, ponte a barrer. But mental health is something that you don't talk about ever. It's very rare. And even now, like, it's very, even to my sister, who is 10 years older than me, and she's a new generation than my parents, like, I don't think I would talk to her like, hey, I'm struggling mentally, unless it's like postpartum, which is the norm. That's only the normal when you can have depression or whatnot. But I wouldn't feel comfortable talking to her. I think, but it needs to be.
And you guys are really, really close.
Now we are, yeah.
Yeah, and like what I'm trying to say, she's one of the closest family members that you have, and the one that you feel comfortable talking to about anything except that.
Yeah, I think that is a hot topic. Or it'd be like, okay, weird. Like, what do we talk about?
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's go out. Like, let's go have drinks. Like, all you need is a peda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is that sad, really. Well, I don't know if she'll say that. But I wouldn't go to her. I don't know who. I mean, I wouldn't go be like, hey, I'm struggling mentally with my mental health.
Because it's never been something that it's open in the table, ¿verdad? Mijo, ¿cómo estás? Or, oh, dad, I'm struggling with this, or mom, I'm struggling with this. Oh, es que, like, you're not busy. Again, you're not busy enough. Mejor haz esta cosa, a lo mejor no te gustó. It's never like, are you okay? Is your mind okay?
Your mental health okay? How are you doing mentally? It's never that question. It's like, ¿cómo vas en la escuela? O ¿cómo te va en el trabajo?
Like, yeah, it's dodged a lot.
It is.
Which I have seen a lot of people that have been like open about it and talked about it, and they're like, geez, I was in survival mode for so much. Or even like family member me está diciendo, oh, my partner would take me to a hospital because I would get nervous, or he would have to hold my hand cuando estaba pasando la frontera because I was nervous. I'm like, that's anxiety.
Yeah, that's like,
it's like I would get, like, mi corazón empezaba
a palpitar
mucho. I'm like, that's a panic attack. But even like doctors in Mexico don't diagnose it as anxiety or depression. They diagnose it as algo del
corazón o del hígado,
something else, but
they try to avoid it.
Yeah, and I think it should definitely be something that you talk about openly, especially with your kids, because there's so much going on with technology. Todo eso que they'd rather go to AI, for example, and say, hey, this is going on, how do I feel? In vez de going to your parent and being like, okay, I actually have a reinforcement of how I'm supposed to react, or what can I do if I'm mad or frustrated. Social emotional.
Yes, but can you go to your parents now and be like, hey, mom, I'm feeling this way?
No, I can't.
Yeah, exactly. No. So I feel like with the newer generation, we have more knowledge and be like, this is how we can help out. Or we ourselves can go through anxiety and depression. It's like, this is the type of help I needed. And you can help your child when they come to you, and giving that liberty of them coming to you as well.
Yeah. I think it's definitely in los pasos de mejorar and talking about it more, which is good. I'm really proud of us.
Yeah. There you go. was good.
Good.
Nice.
Nice. Thank you so much for watching. I think we touched on a lot of Mexican traditions que todavía siguen pasando, como las cacerolas en la estufa.
Horno. En el horno o en la dishwasher que no se puede usar, que se lava mejor a las manos.
Que el yogur los frijoles en el topper del yogur. Todo eso. But we're evolving, and I think that's what matters. Comment down below what Mexican traditions you would like to see evolve, or
what Mexican traditions you still have in your house that you would want to change or don't want to change.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in on this video and all the past, and we will see you on the next one. Adios.
Bye.
Oh, I better be recording. That was a good time.